Imagine a world hidden beneath layers of thick, green jungle, where the sunlight filters softly through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The air is warm and heavy with moisture, carrying the scent of damp earth and the faint perfume of flowers and fruit hanging from unseen branches. In this quiet, secret place, life moves at its own gentle rhythm, guided by the cycles of rain and sun, growth and decay. It is here, in this seemingly untamed wilderness, that one of the most remarkable human civilizations quietly flourished. The ancient Mayans, whose cities now lie partially buried under centuries of vegetation, carved their lives and communities into this challenging environment with extraordinary skill and imagination. It can be hard to picture how such complexity could exist in the heart of the jungle. We often imagine the forest as a place where survival is difficult and resources are scarce, yet the Mayans thrived here for hundreds of years. Their world was a delicate balance of nature and human ingenuity, a rhythm that they learned to follow carefully. Every tree cleared, every stone shaped, and every water channel dug was done with patient intention. There is something almost hypnotic about this thought, the idea that humans, moving quietly and steadily, could reshape and organize their surroundings without disturbing the subtle balance of life around them. As we begin this exploration, imagine stepping softly into this ancient landscape. You do not need to hurry, nor do you need to seek answers immediately. Simply let the jungle rise around you. Imagine the distant calls of birds and the soft trickle of hidden streams. Let the calm awareness of this world settle in. The story of the Mayans is not only one of monumental achievement but also one of careful observation and understanding of the environment. It is a tale that combines practicality with artistry, strategy with rhythm, and human determination with natural harmony. The cities they built were more than just collections of stone and wood. They were expressions of a sophisticated understanding of how to live in balance with the rainforest. Pyramids rose gently from the earth, their steps leading not just to ceremonial platforms but to a sense of perspective, an order imposed upon the wilderness. Roads stretched like quiet veins across the landscape, connecting plazas, temples, and markets, while hidden reservoirs and canals quietly managed the flow of water, ensuring that life could continue even when the rain paused. In this way, the Mayans created spaces that were simultaneously practical, spiritual, and visually breathtaking, all while working within the limitations of a dense, humid, and sometimes unforgiving jungle. One of the most striking aspects of this story is the patience it required. There was no sudden construction of cities, no rapid conquest of the land. Instead, the Mayans worked slowly, methodically, observing the patterns of rainfall, the rise and fall of rivers, and the behavior of crops. They developed a keen sense of timing and placement, understanding which areas of the land could support large populations and which were better left wild. This careful attention allowed their cities not only to exist but to thrive, hidden from the casual observer yet vibrant with activity and life. As we gently move through this story, it is important to notice the contrast. On one hand, the jungle is vast, thick, and at times dangerous, filled with challenges that might seem insurmountable. On the other hand, the Mayans' response to these challenges demonstrates quiet creativity and deep respect for the natural world. They transformed potential obstacles into opportunities, turning dense forests into fertile fields, redirecting water to nourish crops, and designing roads and plazas that fit seamlessly into the landscape. There is a serenity in this approach, a calm persistence that allows us to reflect not only on their accomplishments but on the slow, deliberate beauty of their methods. This introduction serves to ease us into the journey. It is not about rushing to understand every detail immediately but about creating a sense of space and mood, a gentle entry into a world where ingenuity and nature coexist. As the story unfolds, we will explore the life of early Mayan communities, the challenges of the jungle, and the extraordinary engineering that allowed cities to rise from dense vegetation. We will walk along their roads, pause in the shade of their plazas, and imagine the daily rhythms of a civilization that thrived quietly and steadily, leaving behind a legacy that still captivates and inspires. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to settle into this calm observation. The jungle is alive, the cities are hidden but waiting to be discovered, and the story of the Mayans is ready to unfold at a gentle, relaxing pace. Let the details wash over you slowly, the soft light filtering through leaves, the quiet determination of people shaping stone and soil, and the hum of life continuing uninterrupted. In this serene exploration we find not only history but a sense of quiet wonder, a gentle reminder of human creativity and patience, perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the natural world. Before the Mayans built their remarkable cities, their world was already rich and alive with possibilities. Picture a landscape that stretches in soft waves of green, where the ground is covered with thick undergrowth and vines hang like quiet curtains from towering trees. Rivers wind lazily through the terrain, reflecting sunlight in gentle glimmers, and wetlands and swamps lie interspersed with patches of drier land. This is Mesoamerica, a region defined by its humid climate, fertile soil, and abundant rainfall. Here, nature dominates in both beauty and complexity, yet it offers resources that can sustain life for those who observe carefully and move with patience. The geography of the region shaped every decision the early Mayans would make. Dense forests provided timber for building, fruits and nuts for food, and plants with medicinal properties for healing. Rivers were highways of transportation, quietly carrying canoes laden with goods and people. The soil, rich in certain areas, could be coaxed into yielding plentiful harvests through careful cultivation. Yet, at the same time, the land presented subtle challenges: seasonal flooding, areas of poor drainage, and sections where the dense jungle resisted human intervention. The Mayans learned to read the land with quiet attentiveness, noting which areas were fertile, which were prone to erosion, and where the natural flow of water could be harnessed rather than resisted. Imagine standing at the edge of one of these early settlements. You might see clusters of small, thatched roof houses nestled amid the trees, smoke curling gently from cooking fires. Chickens, dogs, and perhaps the occasional turkey roam nearby, while maize, beans, and squash grow in carefully tended plots. Life here is steady, rhythmic, and intimately connected to the land. Early Mayan communities were small, often numbering just a few hundred people, yet their understanding of their environment was precise and thorough. Each family knew the cycles of planting and harvesting, the best locations to collect water, and the plants that could provide sustenance or medicine. There is a quiet poetry in this knowledge, a gentle attunement to the subtle signals of nature, from the sound of rain on leaves to the shifting light of day. As the population grew and communities expanded, the early Mayans began to form networks of interaction. Paths cut through the forest, worn smooth by foot traffic, connected neighboring villages. Trade routes allowed people to exchange goods like salt, obsidian, jade, and cacao. While the jungle remained dense and occasionally forbidding, these networks slowly knit together a wider region, creating the foundations for larger urban centers. The calm rhythm of these exchanges, slow, deliberate, and balanced, helped establish a sense of interdependence that would later support the construction of larger cities. The climate played a critical role in shaping the culture and daily routines of the Mayans. Long wet seasons alternated with dry periods, creating cycles that required planning, observation, and flexibility. The Mayans developed techniques to store water and manage irrigation, adapting their agricultural practices to the nuances of the rainfall. In this way, they were not merely surviving the environment, they were learning from it, listening to its cues, and aligning their actions with its natural patterns. The jungle was neither an adversary nor an enemy, it was a partner, a teacher, and a living context for human ingenuity. In this section, it is important to notice the stillness and continuity of early life. While we often measure progress by monumental structures or rapid expansion, the heart of the Mayan world was defined by patience, observation, and subtle adaptation. People moved slowly, observed closely, and acted thoughtfully. There is a gentle calm in imagining the sun rising over maize fields, children playing along quiet paths, and families gathering for meals at the end of the day. Every action was part of a larger rhythm, a cycle of growth and renewal that extended beyond individual lifetimes. The natural resources available in Mesoamerica were not only practical but also inspired the cultural and spiritual life of the Mayans. Stones, plants, and animals became symbols in ritual practices, art, and storytelling. Observing the stars, following the cycles of the moon, and noting seasonal changes were all integral to the way communities understood their place in the world. This combination of environmental awareness, cultural expression, and practical knowledge created a harmonious foundation upon which the later cities could be built. As we gently wander through this landscape, it is easy to imagine the anticipation that might have arisen as early communities began to envision more complex settlements. There is a quiet wonder in seeing how humans, attuned to the nuances of their environment, could slowly cultivate not only food and shelter but also networks of trade, social systems, and spiritual practices. These early communities were the seeds from which monumental achievements would grow, thriving in balance with the jungle rather than in opposition to it. Take a moment to imagine the soft sounds of the forest. Birds calling in the distance, the whisper of leaves, the slow rush of rivers and streams. The Mayans moved within this living world with care, shaping their environment gently and respectfully. In this calm observation, we see the roots of ingenuity, patience, and sustainability, qualities that would one day enable them to build cities of remarkable complexity, hidden beneath the green canopy yet perfectly suited to the rhythms of nature. In the quiet corners of the dense Mesoamerican forests, early Mayan communities went about their lives with a rhythm that was both deliberate and serene. Life was centered on the basics, yet every task carried meaning and purpose. Houses were constructed from timber, reeds, and thatch, blending seamlessly into the surrounding vegetation. Smoke from cooking fires curled gently into the humid air, carrying the subtle aroma of maize, beans, and other staples of the Mayan diet. Villagers moved with careful intention, aware of both the land beneath their feet and the sky above, following a rhythm that mirrored the cycles of the seasons. Food shaped the daily patterns of life. Families tended small fields of maize, beans, and squash, planting them in carefully rotated plots to preserve soil fertility. Gardens were planned thoughtfully, each plant positioned to maximize sunlight and moisture, while companion planting encouraged growth and deterred pests. Gathering and hunting supplemented the harvest. Fruits from the forest, small animals, and freshwater fish from nearby streams provided variety and nutrition. Every meal reflected a subtle harmony with nature, a recognition of the delicate balance between taking resources and ensuring the environment could continue to sustain life. The Mayans lived not in isolation but as interconnected groups. Social life was rich, calm, and structured around cooperation. Villages often consisted of extended families who shared work, food, and knowledge. Each person had a role, whether tending crops, caring for animals, crafting tools, or participating in religious and ceremonial practices. Children learned from their elders by observing and assisting, gradually internalizing the rhythms of daily life. There was a sense of quiet mentorship, a passing down of practical wisdom that allowed skills and traditions to endure across generations. Ceremony and ritual were woven seamlessly into everyday routines. The Mayans observed celestial cycles, tracking the sun, moon, and stars with careful attention. Festivals marked the passage of time and the rhythm of agriculture, providing moments of collective reflection, gratitude, and celebration. These practices were not performed in haste or spectacle but with a calm reverence, reinforcing social cohesion and spiritual awareness. It is easy to imagine the soothing cadence of these rituals, the measured steps in ceremonial dances, the rhythmic pounding of maize, and the gentle murmur of prayers and offerings. Tools and technology, though simple by modern standards, were carefully adapted to the environment. Stone axes, wooden digging sticks, and pottery shaped daily life. Houses and communal structures were constructed with patience, using materials gathered sustainably from the surrounding forest. Roads and paths were maintained quietly, connecting neighboring villages and enabling the exchange of goods such as salt, cacao, obsidian, and jade. Each innovation reflected careful observation of both natural patterns and human needs, resulting in a lifestyle that was efficient, sustainable, and deeply attuned to the jungle. Time moved differently in these early communities. Life was governed by subtle cycles rather than clocks, with days marked by sunrise and sunset, rains and harvests. People measured progress by growth, by the health of crops, and by the quiet unfolding of each season. There was a soothing continuity in this pace, a rhythm that allowed communities to anticipate needs, adapt to challenges, and thrive without haste. The gentle ebb and flow of life created an environment where patience and observation were more valuable than speed or force, allowing both people and nature to flourish together. Health and medicine were closely linked to the natural world. The Mayans had knowledge of plants and herbs, using them for both nourishment and healing. Leaves, roots, and flowers were gathered with care and applied to treat common ailments. Infections, minor injuries, and illnesses were addressed with a combination of herbal remedies, ritual practices, and practical care, creating a holistic approach to well-being that reinforced the sense of calm and attentiveness in daily life. Art and expression were also present in subtle forms. Carvings, pottery, textiles, and body decoration were not created for ostentation but as natural extensions of life's rhythm, reflecting the spiritual and environmental awareness of the people. Imagery often depicted animals, plants, celestial patterns, and mythological stories, all rendered with patient skill. Even in their creative expressions, the Mayans maintained a gentle connection to their surroundings, blending aesthetics with practicality and meaning. As we imagine the daily life of these early communities, it becomes clear that survival and thriving were inseparable from awareness and care. Each task, from planting maize to weaving baskets, from observing the stars to tending animals, was part of a slow, harmonious rhythm. The Mayans learned to see the jungle not as an enemy but as a partner, a living presence that required respect and understanding. This intimacy with the environment laid the groundwork for the remarkable cities that would emerge later, demonstrating how patient adaptation and quiet observation can lead to extraordinary achievements over time. Take a moment to picture a day in the life of such a community. The sun rises softly, mist clinging to the trees. Children help with small tasks, elders tend fields and families gather for meals. Birds call through the canopy, and the distant sound of water flows in hidden streams. Every action is deliberate, every moment infused with a sense of place and belonging. In this serene rhythm, early Mayans cultivated not only food and shelter but also knowledge, culture, and harmony, creating a foundation upon which future generations could build cities that would amaze the world. The jungle that stretched across the lands of the ancient Mayans was alive in ways both enchanting and formidable. Dense, towering trees created a ceiling of green so thick that sunlight barely reached the forest floor in patches, leaving shadows that shifted slowly throughout the day. Vines draped from branches like quiet curtains, moving gently with the breeze, and the undergrowth was thick with ferns, shrubs, and creeping plants. Walking through this environment would have felt like entering a living labyrinth, a world where every step required awareness and care. For the Mayans, the jungle was both a provider and a challenge, demanding observation, patience, and ingenuity in equal measure. Water was both a blessing and a source of difficulty. Rainfall was abundant and often unpredictable, bringing life to crops but also swelling rivers and creating temporary flooding in lowlands. Streams that seemed placid in the morning could rise quickly in the afternoon, reshaping the landscape and affecting travel and agriculture. Managing this abundance required careful planning. The Mayans developed systems of reservoirs, canals, and channels to capture and distribute water, turning a potential hazard into a vital resource. Their understanding of hydrology was quiet yet profound, a reflection of centuries of patient observation and experimentation. The jungle also teemed with life that could be threatening. Mosquitoes and other insects were constant companions, bringing discomfort and disease. Venomous snakes, jaguars, and other predators required vigilance, especially near the edges of villages or along paths through the forest. Despite these dangers, the Mayans did not retreat from the environment. Instead, they learned to navigate it with care, building paths and clearing areas strategically, using natural barriers for protection, and cultivating awareness of animal behaviors. This relationship with the jungle was neither combative nor submissive. It was one of respect and adaptation. Soil conditions varied widely across the region. Some areas were fertile and easy to cultivate, while others were rocky, poorly drained, or prone to erosion. The Mayans observed these differences patiently, learning which areas could sustain fields of maize, beans, and squash, and which required engineering interventions like raised terraces or drain plots. Their agriculture was a delicate blend of adaptation and foresight, a process of working with the land rather than forcing it to yield. Every mound of earth, every row of crops, and every irrigation channel was a testament to careful planning and a deep understanding of natural patterns. The climate added another layer of complexity. Humidity was high, and temperatures could swing from warm days to cooler nights. Seasonal shifts were subtle but significant, affecting when crops were planted and harvested, when roads were passable, and when certain activities were possible. The Mayans synchronized their work and ceremonies with these natural rhythms, following a pace dictated by the environment rather than imposed by clocks or rigid schedules. There is a quiet poetry in this, a calm attentiveness to the subtle signals of wind, light, and water that guided human activity and shaped the very fabric of daily life. Beyond physical obstacles, the jungle posed logistical challenges for building and organization. Transporting stone, timber, and other materials through dense vegetation required ingenuity and cooperation. Paths had to be cleared and maintained, often in areas where mud and undergrowth threatened to impede movement. Large stones used for construction were carried over distances with careful planning, employing simple but effective tools and techniques. Every act of building was intertwined with understanding the land, leveraging natural contours, and respecting the limitations and opportunities provided by the environment. Isolation was another subtle challenge. Early communities were spread across the landscape, often separated by rivers, wetlands, or dense forest. Communication and trade required patience and the development of networks that allowed resources, knowledge, and cultural practices to flow between settlements. Roads were cut through the forest to connect communities, creating arteries of quiet movement that enabled both survival and growth. These networks illustrate a calm, persistent organization that relied not on force but on cooperation, observation, and the careful management of space. Despite these hardships, the jungle offered rewards. Its abundance of food, water, and materials supported life in ways that, when understood, were remarkably sustainable. The Mayans learned to read the environment, noting patterns in rainfall, soil fertility, and the behavior of animals. They observed the subtle signs of disease or drought and developed strategies to mitigate risks. Every challenge met by the community was also an opportunity to grow knowledge, refine skills, and deepen the bond between people and their surroundings. In imagining the challenge of the jungle, it is important to notice the calm determination required to thrive here. There was no rush or desperation. Every action was deliberate, measured, and aligned with the natural world. Clearing land, planting crops, constructing paths, and gathering water were all tasks approached with patience and care. The Mayans' response to the environment was thoughtful rather than reactive, a continuous process of listening, learning, and adapting. In this way, the jungle, while imposing and dense, became a partner rather than an adversary, shaping human ingenuity without overwhelming it. As we walk slowly through this narrative, it becomes clear that the difficulty of the jungle was precisely what made the achievements of the Mayans so extraordinary. Their cities, engineering feats, and social organization were born not in isolation or comfort but in the context of constant observation, careful planning, and harmonious adaptation. The forest, with all its shadows, streams, and challenges, became both the canvas and the teacher for one of history's most remarkable civilizations, quietly reminding us of the power of patience, respect, and steady persistence in the face of complexity. As we step deeper into the story of the Mayans, it becomes clear that their greatest achievement was not only surviving in the dense jungle but also transforming it in ways that were thoughtful, precise, and sustainable. The ingenuity of Mayan engineering lies not in grandiose displays alone but in the quiet, methodical solutions they developed to meet the challenges of their environment. Every road, canal, terrace, and stone structure was a product of careful observation, patient experimentation, and a deep understanding of both natural forces and human needs. Water management was at the heart of Mayan engineering. In a region where rainfall could be unpredictable, ensuring a steady supply of water was essential. The Mayans built reservoirs, cisterns, and canals to capture and store water during the wet season, making it available for use during drier periods. They sculpted the land to guide water efficiently, creating channels that brought it to fields, homes, and public spaces while preventing flooding. This system of careful planning allowed agriculture to flourish, even in areas that might otherwise have been unsuitable for intensive cultivation. The quiet patience required to design and maintain such networks is a testament to their ingenuity, reflecting a harmony between human needs and the rhythm of nature. The construction of terraces and raised fields also illustrates this remarkable skill. In areas where the soil was prone to erosion or where water could stagnate, the Mayans sculpted the land into carefully leveled terraces. These not only improved drainage but also created microclimates that enhanced crop growth. Raised fields, surrounded by channels of water, acted as natural irrigation systems and helped regulate temperature and moisture levels. This approach to agriculture demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of environmental engineering, one that relied not on brute force but on observation, experimentation, and adaptation. Each mound, each furrow, each water channel was placed with intention and care. Roads, or sakbiab as they were called, were another key component of Mayan engineering. These raised stone pathways connected cities, villages, ceremonial centers, and marketplaces, allowing people and goods to move efficiently across dense jungle terrain. Constructing these roads required clearing trees, leveling uneven ground, and laying stones in a manner that could withstand both heavy rain and the passage of time. The roads were carefully aligned, often extending for miles, and provided not only transportation but also a sense of order and structure in a landscape that could otherwise feel chaotic. They exemplify the Mayans' quiet ability to impose subtle organization without disrupting the natural balance. Urban planning was similarly thoughtful. Cities were designed with a central plaza surrounded by temples, pyramids, administrative buildings, and residences. Water systems, roads, and agricultural plots were integrated into this plan, creating settlements that were both functional and aesthetically harmonious. The Mayans understood that a city was more than a collection of buildings. It was an ecosystem, a carefully balanced environment that needed to support daily life, trade, and ceremonial activities simultaneously. Their planning was not hurried or forceful but deliberate, reflecting a calm, measured approach to problem-solving. Even the construction of temples and pyramids reveals a methodical and patient ingenuity. Stones were quarried, transported, and precisely placed using simple tools, wooden levers, and human labor. Each structure was designed with consideration of its surroundings, the local terrain, and the purpose it served. Alignment with celestial events was often incorporated into the design, reflecting the Mayans' deep observational knowledge of astronomy. The process was slow, exacting, and repetitive, requiring not only physical effort but also a deep understanding of materials, angles, and proportions. In imagining this work, one can sense the quiet determination of people moving stone by stone, guided by careful planning and long-term vision. Infrastructure for everyday life was equally sophisticated. Drainage systems, platforms, and terraces prevented flooding in urban centers and agricultural plots, while storage facilities ensured that food and water could be preserved for periods of scarcity. Houses were constructed with local materials in ways that provided ventilation and stability, and public spaces were designed to accommodate both daily activity and ceremonial gatherings. Every element of engineering, from the largest temple to the smallest aqueduct, reflected the Mayans' awareness of the environment and their intention to live in balance with it. It is important to notice the calm continuity in all of this work. Unlike civilizations that relied on rapid expansion or brute force, the Mayans built slowly and deliberately, letting observation guide their decisions. Trial and error, quiet experimentation, and attentiveness to patterns in rainfall, soil, and human behavior allowed them to refine their methods over generations. In this, there is a soothing lesson: progress need not be hurried. Patience, observation, and incremental improvements can create outcomes that are both functional and enduring. As we imagine the jungle transformed by these methods, it is easy to visualize the subtle interactions between human ingenuity and natural forces. Water channels wind quietly through fields, terraces rise gently from the forest floor, and roads stretch silently, connecting distant points. Each structure blends into the environment rather than dominating it, demonstrating a harmony that is almost meditative in its design. The Mayans worked not against the jungle but with it, listening to its rhythms, learning from its cycles, and shaping their settlements in a way that complemented rather than disrupted the natural world. In this calm observation, we can appreciate the brilliance of Mayan engineering not as a spectacle of speed or scale, but as a demonstration of quiet, deliberate intelligence. Every canal, terrace, road, and building was a product of patience, attention, and deep understanding. The jungle, once seen as a challenge, became a partner in creation, and through this partnership, the Mayans were able to lay the foundations for cities that would endure, hidden beneath the canopy but ready to amaze future generations with their ingenuity and sophistication. The Mayan cities emerged gradually from the dense jungle, a delicate layering of human effort over centuries of observation, experimentation, and careful planning. Imagine walking through an area of thick forest where, at first, only the subtle hints of human activity are visible: clearings, paths, and small structures blending seamlessly with the natural landscape. Over time, these small settlements evolved into complex cities, quietly rising from the earth, each stone and structure placed with intention, harmony, and purpose. At the heart of every Mayan city was the central plaza, a calm, open space that served as both the social and ceremonial core. Surrounding the plaza were pyramids, temples, palaces, and administrative buildings, each carefully arranged to create a sense of balance and order. These open spaces allowed sunlight to filter gently through the surrounding trees, and the design encouraged both daily life and communal gathering. The layout was not arbitrary. It reflected the Mayans' understanding of social hierarchy, religious practice, and the practical needs of urban life, all woven together in a way that was both functional and aesthetically pleasing. The pyramids and temples themselves were remarkable feats of planning and construction. Stone blocks were carefully cut, transported, and assembled using human labor, wooden levers, and simple tools. Each step and platform was precisely measured, and many structures were aligned with celestial events, allowing sunlight to illuminate specific areas during solstices or equinoxes. This alignment created a subtle rhythm between the city and the cosmos, a reminder of the Mayans' keen observation of the natural world and their desire to harmonize their built environment with its cycles. The process of construction was deliberate, patient, and methodical, with workers moving stone by stone, creating spaces that would endure for centuries. Residential areas, though less monumental than temples and pyramids, were equally carefully designed. Houses were built with timber and thatch, elevated slightly to protect against seasonal flooding, and arranged to optimize airflow and sunlight. Families lived in clusters, creating neighborhoods that balanced privacy with communal interaction. Streets and pathways connected these areas to the central plazas, agricultural terraces, and water sources, creating a network that allowed people to move quietly and efficiently throughout the city. Even the placement of homes reflected the Mayans' understanding of the environment, ensuring that residents could live comfortably despite the challenges of jungle life. Water management was integral to the layout of the cities. Reservoirs, canals, and drainage systems were incorporated into urban design, ensuring that water could be collected, stored, and distributed effectively. Rainwater was carefully channeled to fields and public spaces, while excess water was diverted to prevent flooding. This quiet ingenuity ensured that life could continue uninterrupted, even during periods of heavy rain or drought, and allowed the cities to support large populations without depleting the surrounding natural resources. In this way, the Mayans' engineering and urban planning were seamlessly intertwined, each element supporting the other in a subtle, interconnected system. Markets and trade spaces were another essential feature of Mayan cities. Traders and craftsmen moved along wide pathways, offering goods such as jade, obsidian, salt, cacao, and textiles. These areas were carefully integrated into the urban layout, providing access to resources while maintaining order and calm movement throughout the city. The design allowed for both bustling activity and quiet observation, ensuring that social and economic life could coexist with the tranquility of the environment. Ceremonial spaces, though grand in scale, were designed to complement the natural surroundings. Pyramids, temples, and altars often incorporated nearby trees, hills, or bodies of water, creating a sense of unity between built and natural environments. Rituals and festivals unfolded in these spaces with a measured pace, reinforcing social cohesion and spiritual awareness. The quiet majesty of these structures reflects a civilization that valued both function and meaning, combining practical urban planning with reverent attention to symbolism and culture. Even roads, or sak-biab, were integrated into the urban design. These raised stone pathways connected plazas, temples, residential areas, and surrounding villages, facilitating the movement of people, goods, and information. Their construction required careful leveling, the laying of stone, and attention to drainage, ensuring durability and accessibility. The roads linked the city to the wider region, connecting distant communities and creating a network of quiet, continuous interaction. In imagining the construction of these cities, it is easy to picture the patience, skill, and cooperation required. Stone was quarried and transported slowly, canals and terraces were dug and shaped over years, and homes and public buildings were raised incrementally. Each effort, though small on its own, contributed to a larger vision, a city that was both practical and harmonious with its environment. The Mayans understood that their achievements were not the result of sudden action but of careful, persistent effort over generations. Walking through a Mayan city in the imagination, one can sense the quiet rhythm of life, the gentle movement of people along pathways, the soft murmur of water in canals, the measured steps of ritual processions, and the steady activity of markets and workshops. Every element of the city, from the grandest temple to the smallest home, was part of a cohesive, balanced whole, reflecting the Mayans' deep understanding of both human needs and environmental patterns. The process of building cities in the jungle was, above all, a lesson in harmony and patience. The Mayans demonstrated that complex, enduring urban environments could emerge not through force or rapid construction but through careful planning, observation, and cooperation with the natural world. Their cities were living systems, quietly integrated with the forest, and they serve as enduring reminders of the power of deliberate, thoughtful action over time. One of the most remarkable aspects of Mayan civilization was its ability to create abundant and sustainable agricultural systems in the dense, humid jungle. Life in the city was deeply connected to the land, and every community relied on careful observation, patience, and innovative techniques to ensure a steady supply of food. Imagine walking through the forest, where patches of cultivated land appear amid the wild greenery, each carefully planned and maintained. Maize, beans, and squash formed the foundation of the diet, while a variety of other crops, fruits, and vegetables were integrated to ensure both nutrition and balance. The Mayans developed a system known as milpa, a method of intercropping that allowed different plants to grow together in harmony. Maize provided a tall stalk for beans to climb, while squash spread low along the ground, protecting the soil and preserving moisture. This gentle interplay of plants reduced the need for artificial fertilizers or constant intervention. The system reflected a deep understanding of ecological balance, showing how food production could coexist with forest preservation. Fields were rotated and left fallow as necessary, allowing the soil to regain nutrients, and forests were left undisturbed to maintain biodiversity and protect against erosion. Beyond the milpa, the Mayans created terraces and raised fields to adapt to the challenges of their environment. In low-lying areas prone to flooding, raised fields helped regulate water levels, preventing crops from drowning during heavy rains while retaining moisture during drier periods. Terraces were carved into hillsides, transforming slopes into productive farmland while reducing soil erosion. These techniques were subtle but effective, demonstrating the Mayans' quiet ingenuity and their ability to work with the land rather than against it. Every mound of soil, every carefully placed ridge, was part of a system that combined utility with sustainability. Irrigation was another critical component of Mayan agriculture. Canals and reservoirs captured rainwater and distributed it to fields, ensuring that crops could survive periods of irregular rainfall. This network of water management was both practical and elegant, integrated seamlessly into the natural contours of the land. By observing the flow of water and the needs of plants, the Mayans developed a system that minimized waste and maximized productivity. It is soothing to imagine these channels glistening in the sunlight, carrying life-sustaining water to the heart of the fields, quietly supporting communities without force or haste. The Mayans also practiced a form of forest management that contributed to long-term sustainability. They preserved areas of forest for fruit, medicinal plants, and wood, understanding that maintaining biodiversity was essential for ecological balance. Clearing land was done carefully, ensuring that soil quality remained high and that natural barriers continued to protect crops from wind, erosion, and wildlife. This respect for the natural world was a hallmark of Mayan ingenuity, allowing communities to flourish in the jungle while maintaining harmony with the environment. Food storage and preservation were subtle but important aspects of sustainability. Granaries and storage pits were carefully constructed to protect harvested crops from pests, moisture, and spoilage. By planning for the future, the Mayans ensured that surplus food could support communities during lean seasons or periods of environmental stress. This forward-thinking approach reflects a quiet mindfulness, a calm attention to cycles and the passing of time that allowed both agriculture and society to remain resilient over generations. Agricultural practices also shaped social and cultural life. Planting, tending, and harvesting crops were communal activities, reinforcing cooperation, shared knowledge, and interdependence. Ceremonies and rituals marked the beginning and end of planting cycles, creating a rhythm that linked human activity with natural processes. Children learned through participation, observing elders carefully and internalizing lessons about the land, the seasons, and the responsibilities of community life. In this way, agriculture was not merely a practical necessity, it was also a gentle teacher, guiding people toward balance, patience, and harmony. The quiet brilliance of Mayan agriculture lies in its integration with both daily life and the natural world. Fields, terraces, canals, and forests were not separate from human existence. They were woven into the fabric of the city and the culture. Each method reflected careful observation, experimentation, and adjustment, creating a system that could endure over time. In imagining this environment, it is possible to sense the calm rhythm of labor and observation, the soft movement of hands planting seeds, and the slow growth of crops under careful watch. Sustainability extended beyond food production to the broader balance of urban life. By managing resources thoughtfully, the Mayans ensured that cities could grow without exhausting the land or destabilizing the surrounding environment. Water systems, transportation routes, and agricultural fields were all interconnected, forming a network that supported human life quietly and efficiently. This approach allowed cities to thrive in a challenging jungle setting, demonstrating that human ingenuity and environmental awareness could coexist in harmony. As we picture the Mayans working in the fields, maintaining terraces and tending canals, it becomes clear that agriculture was both practical and meditative. Every task was performed with intention, reflecting the subtle wisdom of a civilization attuned to cycles, seasons, and sustainability. The calm, deliberate approach to food production created a foundation upon which cities could grow, populations could thrive, and culture could flourish, ensuring that the jungle itself became a partner in human life rather than an obstacle to be overcome. Beyond the practical ingenuity of agriculture, engineering, and city building, the Mayans developed a rich tapestry of culture, ritual, and knowledge that shaped daily life and connected them deeply to the world around them. Life in Mayan cities was not only about survival, it was about understanding, observing, and participating in the rhythms of nature and the cosmos. From the earliest dawns over the forest to the quiet moments beneath the stars, culture and spirituality were woven seamlessly into everyday experience. Ceremonies and rituals marked the passage of time, often tied to agriculture, celestial events, or social milestones. The Mayans observed the cycles of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable precision, developing calendars that allowed them to predict seasonal changes, agricultural cycles and ritual occasions. Festivals and offerings were gentle, measured practices rather than chaotic displays, creating moments of reflection, gratitude, and communal connection. Imagine the soft hum of chanting, the steady beat of drums, and the quiet movement of people participating in ceremonies, all unfolding in a rhythm that mirrors the slow cycles of nature itself. Art and symbolism were intertwined with these rituals. Temples, pyramids, and public spaces were decorated with carvings, murals, and sculptures that depicted gods, animals, and cosmic events. Each design conveyed meaning and offered lessons about life, morality, and the environment. Even smaller items such as pottery, jewelry, and textiles were imbued with symbolism, reflecting spiritual beliefs and cultural stories. The Mayans understood that beauty and meaning could exist in the subtle and everyday as well as in grand structures, and that the act of creating art was itself a form of reflection and meditation. Education and the transmission of knowledge were fundamental to Mayan society. Children learned by observing elders and participating in daily activities, absorbing lessons about farming, building, and social behavior. Priests and scholars studied astronomy, mathematics, and writing, often dedicating their lives to understanding the patterns of the heavens and the rhythms of the earth. Knowledge was not merely practical, it was deeply connected to spiritual understanding, providing a framework for interpreting the world and guiding decision-making in both civic and personal life. The Mayans also developed an early writing system, one of the most sophisticated in the ancient Americas. Glyphs were used to record historical events, genealogies, rituals, and astronomical observations. These inscriptions allowed the transmission of knowledge across generations, preserving the insights and experiences of the past while guiding future actions. Imagine slowly tracing the carved symbols on a temple wall, each one a carefully observed representation of human experience, natural phenomena, or divine principle. The writing system, like the city itself, was precise, deliberate, and intertwined with everyday life. Astronomy played a central role in both ritual and practical life. Observing the movement of celestial bodies allowed the Mayans to time planting and harvesting, schedule festivals, and navigate their world. Pyramids and temples were often aligned with specific solar or lunar events, creating subtle interactions between human construction and cosmic patterns. This quiet attention to the sky reflects the Mayans' patient observation and deep respect for natural order. The knowledge gained through these practices was cumulative, carefully noted and interpreted over generations, and it shaped both the spiritual and practical dimensions of life. Music and sound were also integral to ritual and cultural expression. Instruments such as drums, flutes, and rattles accompanied ceremonies, creating rhythms that reinforced the flow of movement, speech, and meditation. Unlike modern noise, these sounds were deliberate and measured, harmonizing with the natural acoustics of plazas, temples, and forest clearings. Music became a form of quiet guidance, marking transitions, emphasizing ritual steps, and connecting participants with both the earth beneath their feet and the sky above. Daily life itself was permeated by cultural awareness. Activities such as farming, crafting, and cooking were imbued with ritual significance and conducted with mindfulness. People paused to acknowledge the sources of food, the cycles of nature, and the presence of spiritual forces in the world. Even ordinary tasks became opportunities for reflection and connection, reminding us that culture is not only expressed in monumental works but also in the rhythm and quality of everyday life. In observing Mayan culture, rituals, and knowledge, one notices a consistent pattern of patience, attentiveness, and harmony. Life was not rushed or chaotic. It was a continuous, quiet dialogue with nature, the cosmos, and community. Knowledge was carefully gathered, shared, and applied in ways that supported both practical needs and spiritual understanding. Rituals were gentle and deliberate, providing structure and meaning without overwhelming the natural calm of daily life. Imagine walking through a Mayan city at dusk, as the sun lowers behind the jungle canopy. Smoke rises from cooking fires, soft music plays from ritual spaces, and people move with gentle purpose through plazas and streets. The quiet energy of knowledge, ritual, and cultural expression infuses the environment, creating a sense of order and serenity. The Mayans' understanding of their world, both natural and cosmic, allowed them to live harmoniously in the jungle while nurturing a civilization of enduring complexity, beauty, and wisdom. Through these practices, the Mayans left a legacy that extends far beyond their physical cities. Their approach to culture, rituals, and knowledge demonstrates that human life can be rich, meaningful, and deeply connected to both community and environment. By observing, reflecting, and acting with care, they created a balanced and enduring society, one that continues to inspire quiet awe and calm contemplation even today. Life in the Mayan civilization was not confined to isolated cities or villages. It extended through a network of connections that linked people, goods, and ideas across the dense jungle. Trade and communication were the lifelines of this world, quiet yet powerful systems that allowed communities to thrive, share knowledge, and sustain their complex societies. Imagine the soft hum of activity along a raised stone road, where canoes glide down slow rivers and traders walk patiently between villages, carrying goods, stories, and the shared wisdom of generations. Trade was vital for acquiring resources that were not locally available. Salt from coastal regions, obsidian from volcanic highlands, jade from distant quarries, and cacao from tropical lowlands all traveled through carefully maintained trade routes. The Mayans understood the value of these materials not only for practical uses but also for cultural and spiritual significance. Salt preserved food, obsidian-shaped tools, jade adorned ritual objects, and cacao was treasured as both food and currency. Each item moved slowly yet deliberately, passing from hand to hand, village to village, connecting distant points through a network of trust and cooperation. Communication between communities was subtle and deliberate. Paths carved through dense forest, known as sak-biab, allowed people to travel efficiently, while rivers served as natural highways for transporting heavier goods. Messages, news, and knowledge were shared along these routes, ensuring that communities remained aware of regional events, seasonal changes, and important ceremonial dates. Unlike the hurried pace of modern life, these exchanges moved at a calm, measured speed, allowing observation, reflection, and careful decision-making to accompany every interaction. Social networks extended beyond trade alone. Marriage alliances, ceremonial visits, and scholarly exchanges linked cities and villages into broader networks of cooperation and mutual support. These connections created stability, allowing communities to share resources during times of scarcity and coordinate collective activities such as construction projects or large festivals. Imagine a distant village receiving skilled laborers, artisans, or priests for a ceremonial event, each step of the journey marked by careful planning, observation of natural conditions, and coordination between leaders. These networks were quiet, deliberate, and essential for maintaining social cohesion across a challenging landscape. Markets in Mayan cities were hubs of both economic and social life. People gathered to exchange goods, share information, and participate in communal activity. The movement of traders and buyers was deliberate, each transaction measured, creating an environment of calm order. Markets were not chaotic or noisy, rather they reflected the Mayans' ability to combine function with subtle organization, ensuring that trade supported daily life and strengthened community bonds without overwhelming the rhythm of the city. Knowledge exchange was as important as material trade. Skilled artisans, priests, and scholars moved between communities, sharing techniques, ideas, and innovations. Observations about agriculture, water management, architecture, and astronomy were passed along these networks, allowing each generation and each settlement to build upon the discoveries of the previous. In this way, trade and communication were not only practical but also a form of cultural continuity, ensuring that wisdom, skills, and traditions remained alive and evolving across generations. The jungle itself shaped these networks. Dense vegetation, rivers, and swamps created natural obstacles, requiring careful planning, timing, and strategy. Traders and travelers observed seasonal changes, river levels, and weather patterns, moving with attention and patience to ensure safe passage. Every journey was an exercise in quiet adaptability, reflecting the Mayans' understanding that survival, growth, and prosperity required harmony with the environment rather than forceful disruption. Even communication about social or ceremonial matters relied on this careful approach. Messages were conveyed through emissaries, runners, or visual signals, each chosen to minimize risk and ensure clarity. Timing was crucial. The Mayans synchronized activities with natural cycles, understanding that both people and the environment were part of an interconnected system. This calm attentiveness allowed them to coordinate complex events, maintain social order, and strengthen alliances across distances that might otherwise seem insurmountable. The rhythm of trade and communication was, above all, patient and deliberate. Goods, knowledge, and people moved with awareness, guided by careful observation of natural and social conditions. There was no rush, only a steady flow that mirrored the slow unfolding of the seasons, the rise and fall of rivers, and the growth cycles of crops. In this quiet, methodical approach, the Mayans created resilient social networks that enabled cities to thrive, even in the heart of the dense jungle. As we imagine the movement of traders, scholars and emissaries along jungle paths and rivers, we begin to appreciate the subtle sophistication of this system. Each interaction was purposeful, each exchange carefully considered, and every journey contributed to the enduring stability and cohesion of Mayan civilization. The calm, measured flow of goods and knowledge ensured that the society could grow, innovate, and sustain itself over centuries, demonstrating that patience, observation, and thoughtful planning were as powerful as monumental architecture or advanced engineering. The Mayan networks of trade and communication were quiet lifelines, connecting people and resources across vast distances and dense forests. They remind us that human ingenuity extends beyond physical construction, encompassing social, cultural, and logistical intelligence that requires patience, observation, and a deep respect for natural rhythms. In these networks, we see another facet of the Mayan ability to thrive in harmony with the environment, creating a civilization that was as resilient as it was remarkable. As centuries passed, the cities of the Mayans gradually receded beneath the jungle canopy, yet their influence and ingenuity left an enduring legacy that continues to inspire awe today. Imagine walking through a dense forest where vines and trees have slowly reclaimed what once were bustling urban centers. The soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, and the gentle trickle of water through hidden channels hint at the remarkable civilization that thrived here. Though much of the physical structure has been overtaken by nature, the ingenuity, planning, and knowledge embedded in these cities still resonate through time. One of the most remarkable aspects of this legacy is the evidence of sophisticated urban planning and engineering. Even today, the ruins reveal carefully aligned plazas, pyramids, roads, and water systems that testify to centuries of deliberate design. Archaeologists studying these sites uncover terraces, raised fields, canals, and reservoirs that illustrate a deep understanding of agriculture, hydrology, and sustainable living. The Mayans' ability to adapt to their environment and create self-sufficient cities in the heart of the jungle offers a timeless lesson in patience, observation, and harmonious coexistence with nature. The social and cultural structures of these cities also leave a lasting impression. The placement of temples, ceremonial centers, marketplaces, and residential areas reflects a careful balance of function, spirituality, and community cohesion. Even after centuries of abandonment, the spatial organization tells a story of a society that valued order, ritual, and connection. By studying these ruins, we gain insight into the Mayans' quiet yet sophisticated approach to governance, trade, and social organization. A civilization that thrived not through brute force but through careful planning and sustained cooperation. Astronomy and knowledge systems are another enduring aspect of Mayan legacy. Many pyramids and temples were constructed in alignment with celestial events, such as solstices and equinoxes, demonstrating a meticulous understanding of the movement of the sun, moon, and planets. Calendars, inscriptions, and codices reveal a civilization capable of precise observation, long-term planning, and the recording of knowledge for future generations. This intellectual sophistication allowed the Mayans to organize agriculture, ritual, and civic life with remarkable efficiency, providing a blueprint for a harmonious integration of science, spirituality, and daily living. Art and symbolism continue to speak across centuries. Murals, carvings, and glyphs found in ruins reflect stories, religious beliefs, and the human connection to the natural and cosmic world. Even fragmented, these works convey a civilization that valued both beauty and meaning, where every artistic creation was carefully considered and integrated into daily and ceremonial life. The quiet patience required to produce such works mirrors the broader approach of Mayan society, thoughtful, deliberate, and deeply aware of their environment and community. Agricultural and engineering innovations provide lessons that remain relevant today. Raised fields, terraced slopes, and canal systems allowed the Mayans to produce abundant crops in a challenging environment, demonstrating a balance of human ingenuity and ecological awareness. Modern scientists and engineers study these systems to understand sustainable methods of land and water management. The legacy of Mayan agriculture reminds us that innovation does not require rapid or disruptive methods. Careful observation, adaptation, and harmony with natural cycles can yield remarkable, enduring results. Trade and communication networks established by the Mayans also left lasting impacts. Roads, rivers, and paths connected cities and villages, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and knowledge across vast distances. These networks not only supported economic life but also strengthened social cohesion and cultural continuity. Even as many of the physical paths have faded beneath the jungle, their layout and traces provide insight into the interconnectedness of Mayan society, emphasizing the importance of relationships, cooperation, and deliberate planning in creating a resilient civilization. The spiritual and ritual dimensions of Mayan life continue to captivate modern imagination. Temples, altars, and ceremonial spaces reveal a civilization that integrated religious practice into daily life, aligning human activity with natural and cosmic cycles. Ceremonies were deliberate and measured, reinforcing communal bonds and a shared understanding of humanity's place within the larger world. The enduring presence of these sacred spaces reminds us of the importance of reflection, mindfulness, and harmony in both human and natural systems. Even the eventual decline of the cities speaks to lessons in resilience and adaptation. While reasons for abandonment remain debated, ranging from environmental stress, resource depletion, social unrest, or climate change, the remnants of these cities demonstrate that a civilization can leave profound knowledge and inspiration even when its structures are no longer inhabited. The Mayans' ability to create cities that lasted centuries, endured the challenges of the jungle, and influenced countless generations offers a quiet but powerful lesson in long-term vision, planning, and respect for the environment. Walking through the imagination of these reclaimed cities, it is easy to sense the enduring rhythm of life that once existed. The careful placement of stones, the alignment of temples with the sun, the irrigation channels, and the quiet plazas all tell stories of a civilization that observed, adapted, and harmonized with its surroundings. Even in their absence, the cities whisper of patience, intelligence, and the beauty of deliberate effort. Their legacy reminds us that human achievement is not only measured by immediate success but by the lasting impact of thoughtful, harmonious interaction with the world. In the soft shadow of the jungle, Mayan cities continue to teach us about the quiet power of observation, planning, and patience. They are enduring monuments not only of stone but of human wisdom, creativity, and balance with nature. Through agriculture, architecture, astronomy, trade, and culture, the Mayans demonstrate a way of life that is both practical and profound, offering lessons that remain meaningful for contemporary society. The legacy of these cities is one of enduring knowledge, calm ingenuity, and deep respect for the rhythms of the earth and sky. As the sun sets over imagined plazas and hidden temples, one can feel the quiet pulse of Mayan civilization lingering in the air. The cities, though overgrown and silent, remain alive in their design, engineering, and cultural achievements. They invite reflection, calm appreciation, and gentle wonder, reminding us that human innovation, when guided by observation, patience, and harmony with nature, can create a legacy that endures far beyond the passage of time. As we bring our journey through the ancient Mayan cities to a close, it is worthwhile to pause and reflect on the remarkable harmony between human ingenuity and the natural world that shaped these civilizations. The Mayans built their cities in the dense, challenging jungle not through sheer force or hasty action, but through careful observation, thoughtful planning, and a deep understanding of both people and environment. Their legacy offers lessons in patience, resilience, and balance, lessons that remain profoundly relevant even in today's fast-paced world. Walking through the imagined streets of a Mayan city, one can sense the rhythm of life that once flowed through plazas, temples, homes, and markets. Each element of urban design, from raised roads to terraced fields, demonstrates the deliberate, measured choices that allowed these cities to thrive for centuries. The placement of pyramids and ceremonial spaces, the thoughtful integration of water systems, and the careful layout of homes and public spaces all reflect a civilization that respected natural patterns and adapted to environmental constraints with intelligence and patience. These cities were living systems, quietly interconnected networks where engineering, agriculture, culture, and spirituality existed in balance. Perhaps most striking is the Mayans' approach to sustainability. In a region that could be unforgiving, they managed resources with subtle skill, ensuring that agriculture, water management, and urban planning were all interwoven in ways that preserved the land while supporting human life. Raised fields, canals, terraces, and reservoirs demonstrate ingenuity not through spectacle but through practicality and ecological awareness. Their careful observation of rainfall, soil, and environmental cycles allowed them to harness natural forces rather than fight against them. This quiet, measured approach allowed cities to flourish for generations, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire modern scholars, architects, and environmentalists. Trade and social networks further illustrate the Mayan skill in creating resilient systems. Roads, rivers, and pathways linked distant settlements, allowing goods, knowledge, and ideas to move efficiently across the jungle. Markets and exchanges were not chaotic or hurried. They were calm, deliberate hubs that reinforced community, cooperation, and cultural continuity. Scholars, artisans, and priests traveled these networks, sharing knowledge, skills, and innovations, ensuring that wisdom was preserved and passed on to successive generations. Through this system of trade and communication, the Mayans created a civilization that was both dynamic and stable, adaptable yet enduring. Cultural and spiritual life formed another layer of sophistication. Rituals, ceremonies, music, and art were integral to daily existence, guiding people's actions, reinforcing social bonds, and connecting humanity to the rhythms of the natural and cosmic world. Temples and altars, often aligned with celestial events, remind us of the Mayans' meticulous attention to astronomy and their desire to harmonize human activity with the movement of the sun, moon, and stars. Knowledge, culture, and spirituality were not separate from practical life. They were embedded in the rhythm of labor, observation, and daily activity. This holistic integration created a sense of calm order and continuity that carried the civilization through centuries of growth, challenges, and change. As the centuries passed, the physical cities slowly fell into silence beneath the canopy of the jungle. Trees reclaimed plazas, vines draped over pyramids, and the once bustling streets became quiet paths for wildlife. Yet the legacy of the Mayans remains remarkably vivid. Through archaeology, careful study, and imagination, we can reconstruct the deliberate, measured, and ingenious systems that allowed these cities to thrive. The remnants of terraces, canals, roads, and pyramids continue to teach lessons about resilience, patience, and adaptability. They remind us that true ingenuity is not always loud or ostentatious. Sometimes it is quiet, subtle, and enduring, harmonizing with the world rather than dominating it. In reflecting on the achievements of the Mayans, we also gain a sense of perspective about the human capacity for observation, adaptation, and thoughtful action. Their cities were not merely collections of stone and wood, they were living networks of knowledge, culture, and community. Every canal, terrace, pyramid, and home reflects generations of careful work, observation, and understanding. The Mayans' approach to building cities, managing resources, and integrating culture with the environment provides a blueprint for living with awareness, patience, and respect for natural rhythms. There is also a meditative quality to the story of the Mayans. As we envision their cities hidden beneath the jungle, their water channels glistening in filtered sunlight, markets moving at a calm pace, and rituals unfolding under the stars, we begin to appreciate the gentle rhythm of their existence. Life was organized around cycles of seasons, water, celestial movement, and human activity. This deliberate synchronization allowed them to flourish in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, demonstrating that thoughtful attention and harmony with natural systems can yield enduring results. Finally, the legacy of the Mayan cities invites reflection on our own relationship with the environment, with time, and with the knowledge passed down through generations. Their achievements remind us that progress need not be hurried, that human ingenuity can coexist with nature, and that a civilization's true success lies not only in monuments or wealth but in the careful, sustained cultivation of knowledge, culture, and sustainable systems. The Mayans built not only cities but also enduring lessons in patience, observation, and resilience. As we gently close this journey through the ancient Mayan cities, imagine the soft hum of life that once filled the plazas, the quiet flow of water through canals, the rustle of leaves around pyramids, and the subtle glow of the setting sun on terraces and temples. Though centuries have passed, the spirit of innovation, harmony, and calm ingenuity remains alive, waiting to teach us about the enduring power of thoughtful, deliberate action. The story of the Mayans is a gentle reminder that human effort, when guided by patience, observation, and respect for the natural world, can create a legacy that endures far beyond time itself.